Welcome back to Sledgehammer Horror, guys. I am Ken Sledge, and let's talk horror. Today, I am finally joined by the beautiful Sadie Katz. Sadie, how you doing today?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. I'm stoked.
Yes, this is so exciting. It's something that we've been trying to make happen for a little bit now. And as fate would have it, and I will explain why here in a couple minutes, but this is the perfect day for us to be filming this episode. But before we get there, I want to talk about you a little bit, Sadie. For those of you that don't know, Sadie is an actress, writer, producer, and documentarian with an award named in her honor, the AMDOC's Sadie Katz Award for Hustle. Pause there because that is fucking awesome. I am so proud of you and so happy for you. Now, I ask people all the time, like, how's it feel to be in film? How's it feel to be on the stage? How's it feel to be behind the camera? I've never gotten to ask, how, Sadie, does it feel to have an award named in your honor?
Oh, you know what? That's a really lovely thing. I was super honored with my documentary, which is actually non-horror, sorry, but the Bill Murray experience. And I was really insane about promoting the doc. And AmDocs is a great documentary film festival, which also does do some docs and horror in Palm Springs. And I, just really promoted the heck out of it. And a lot of times when people go to film festivals, they kind of, directors are so exhausted, they kind of drop the ball at the festival. And the festival, needs you to fill seats. And, so I had done a lot of things. And at the end, the Teddy Grua is the owner of the festival, and he's the head of the fest. And he was like, we want to give out next year an award for filmmakers who do that to kind of inspire them. I think it's on its third year because of COVID, everything's just crazy. And I think what kind of gets me excited about it is I don't think a lot of filmmakers feel like they have permission to like kind of blow up their own projects. As an actor, you're used to promoting your stuff. Sometimes directors get a little bit, they get a little embarrassed or a little over their projects, but I really am like a big fan of like, being proud of your work and you have to get other people to be really excited. In my doc, I followed Bill Murray around with 100 balloons. So that was kind of my gimmick at the film festivals was, just balloons everywhere. And and planning parties and it's things. So I think what's rad about it is I'm like, well, I left my little legacy there, and it's a great festival. So yeah, that's my story.
Well, no, and it's amazing. And you said it's non-horror, which is totally fine with me because anybody that knows me as a human being knows Bill Murray is my all-time favorite actor.
Right.
And he is somebody that, whether it was Ghostbusters or non-horror, I've always considered Ghostbusters a total horror film.
Sure.
But even in his non-horror stuff, Scrooged, Groundhog's Day, like these movies, Bill Murray is the man to me. And the fact that you did this documentary, the Bill Murray Experience, which is something I can't recommend enough, you guys, make sure you're checking that out. It's amazing to know that somebody I look up to looks up to somebody else that I look up to. Like it's amazing to see all these things that happen in the universe and how we all have heroes. And it's just really cool to see how this happened for you.
Yeah, what's funny is I have this whole theory about Bill Murray. Like, maybe not everyone's going to be like, love the doc, but at the end of the day, I was like, people who love Bill Murray are nice. Like there's a thing, and I'm not talking about like, I'm talking about like people really get it. They tend to really understand. So I met so many like Bill Murray fans, but I used to say it was like a weeding out process. So I would meet someone and they'd be like, oh, I love your documentary. I totally relate. And somebody else would go, why'd you chase Bill Murray? I'm like, you don't need to know. It's not for you. It's for, it's funny because he's getting, called out online for the film he's doing. And I guess they say he was inappropriate. Mm-hmm. And he responded and he said, like, oh, I was doing something to be funny. And I thought about it, and I'm like, when he was doing all that shit, like no one will ever believe you, and stealing people's French fries, that was a few years ago. And I think we're in such a stupid time right now that I don't know if he could even get away with his hijinks anymore, or, you know, everyone's getting canceled. It's like,
Yeah.
it's
The,
sad.
the the no one will ever believe you is one of the best stories I've ever heard in my entire life. And if you, I'm not gonna say this, but BFM, man, like if you guys don't know the no one's ever gonna believe you story about Bill Murray and the French fries, it's the best story like you couldn't make it up,
Right.
and I couldn't see anybody else doing that except Bill Murray.
Yeah. I mean, there's something about it that, like, I think what's exciting about it is it's like a little bit of something magical. Like, swear to God, I wish that I was successful enough that I could go and like be a wish fairy. Like, I worked at Disneyland for a while when I was younger. And when I was part of this team that if we saw kids crying, we would go over and surprise them with Cruella de Vil. And I would give them a big lollipop. And that was like super cool because you'd go around the park looking for kids
Yeah.
that looked like they were upset. And like, we don't get that now. I mean, horror
Right.
films have a bit of magic to them too, because they're, they're such a visceral experience. And they, there's something like exciting and dangerous about them. And I feel like we don't have a lot of times in life where like, I mean, I'm not a comic book person. I think comic book people get that about their comic book movies. I'm not like that, but I do think there's certain things that give you that charge. I don't know.
And
Entertainment can give you that charge. Yeah.
I've always felt like with horror movies where we're on that subject together, and I'm sorry for repeat viewers that have heard this before, but I got to specify I don't condone drug use of any type. I don't condone it. If you want to do something responsibly, that's on you. I would never condone it. But to me, horror movies is like doing drugs. Like you get that high and then you're constantly chasing that dragon again. You're looking for that high again,
Oh,
looking for that fear, that anxiety. And it's a healthy way of doing that, and this is my drug. This is my heroin, is horror movies. Like this is my addiction. This is something that I can't be without. I get itchy and cold. I need it. Like, so I definitely understand what you mean by people chase that again. So
oh my
I
God,
love
I
that.
never
And
thought of it like that. But there is an element of wanting to get scared like that. Like, I cannot go to haunted mazes like during Halloween. I can't handle them. I literally have a meltdown where it's embarrassing, where if you saw me, you'd go, come on, Sadie, they're actors. I start to have like hyperventilate, but I love a good scary movie. Like I really do. Um, I always think like maybe I'm not a big horror. Like I always think of that, and then I'll realize, well, the last 10 movies I saw this month, 8 of them were horror films. I mean, there's
yeah,
some kind of, I feel like a kid when I watch a horror movie.
well, not yeah, but you're watching a horror movie in the comfort of your home. When you're in a haunted house, haunted maze, there's not, when you're watching a horror movie, there's not people jumping out and touching you. Like,
Right.
I'm with you. Like, and I'm not trying to, have lip service here, and but and my wife knows too. Everybody, I don't do haunted houses. I don't do haunted mazes. I don't like it. Because I know you're there. Do not jump out. I don't. I know. I see you. Don't do it. And they do it. And I'm like, I fucking told you not to do that. Like, I seen you. Stop doing it.
I don't even
Um,
like being chased. Like, I
the,
think some of it too is I've like trained myself to be triggered as an actor. So if you say to me like, I'm gonna scare you right now, like, don't scare me. Don't like it.
right.
It's not funny. Um, but it is. I just saw The Babysitter the other night. My son's like, you got to watch The Babysitter, which is kind of like more horror comedy, but
Yeah.
it's sort of like, I'm like, wow, the genre changes, but yet there's some like things that it was still shocking, as goofy as it was. There was like some shocking, it's just a different movie going experience,
Well,
you know.
have you seen the sequel yet? The Babysitter Killer Queen?
We watched them back to back. The sequel's better
Yeah,
than the first one. The sequel
I
I
agree.
enjoyed more. Yeah. The first
Well,
one took
and it's
so
funny.
long to get there. I was like, can we get to the, like, it's 40 minutes in. You guys are finally, but I didn't expect it, which was kind of cool. I had no idea. I don't want to give it away, but I didn't expect it, but the sequel's better.
I 100% agree with you. And it's funny because we talk about horror movies and what they mean to us. And you've had your fair share. And I know a couple of these, a lot of people, I mean, I could list your whole filmography, but that would keep us here all night. But I do want to talk about, you guys may recognize, Sadie, from such films as Wrong Turn 6, The Amityville Harvest, Clown Fear, like these movies that like we watch that give us that anxiety, you were a part of. And it's amazing. Like the Wrong Turn franchise is a very, very popular, very prominent horror franchise. What's it like to be forever ingrained in such a prominent horror franchise?
I love it. I feel really, what's funny is it's such a like, it's this weird franchise where people like love to hate it. They love to hate it, and they also love to like say which ones they like. And it's really, it's a shame because I hated the reboot. Because the reboot, I was like, well, that's like every other horror movie. Wrong Turn is like deliriously bad. Like it's purposely, dirty and sexual and like, they didn't shoot it in West Virginia. The sequels, they shot it in Bulgaria. So I think that there's something just kind of like, it's all about the kills. It's kind of gore porn, more or less. And I think it's really cool that I got to, be a part of something that people watch and enjoy. And even if they don't enjoy, like, it's weird. What's funny is Wrong Turn, the series is really popular in like India. I have no idea why. In like out of the country, it's really popular. And I get fan mail from people from around the world who like, or they'll FaceTime me or something, and I'll see their houses that they live in Wrong Turns, like on their screen. And it's weird. I mean, it's like they're in a hut. I'm not joking. Like, and
Right.
but it's sort of like a family movie in India. Like, which is
That's so,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
But I'm saying like it's a little bit of a tradition of like, how we might watch it. Well, so it's very bizarre. And like I've got to see the movie in other languages where my voice is dubbed, which is hilarious because I have this like distinct voice. It's cool. Like, lucky me to get to do that. Like to be in like a, 20th Century Fox movie. I got to be the lead in. Like normally, you don't get that kind of rollout. So it's the gift that like keeps giving. Did I think that I would, I'm hoping that I'll have something even bigger where my biggest film won't be that I'm having sex with my brother with a melted face and one leg. But you know what? For God's sake, I'll take it.
Well, that's where we all strive to be, is having sex with our brother in a dingy basement. So you're living the dream.
When I got the script, my poor son's like 13 years old. So it's, very top secret. They deliver the script to me. It's like a very big deal. I have to sign all these forms. So I'm reading it and I was like, oh my God. Like I'm only like a couple of weeks away from doing the film. And I'm like, I smother someone with my vagina. I'm spoiler alert. Sorry. Smother someone with my vagina. I in the movie like this, I'm having sex with my brother, and I have to ask my son to like come in, and I'm like, you have to sit down because I want to talk to you and let you know to be prepared for this. He was such a sport about it.
That's amazing. And I mean, honestly, if I could write my own death, being smothered by a vagina would be towards the top of the list. I just want to throw that out there. Um, Now, what a weird segue. We talked about you having sex with your brother for a film, which is obviously, guys, it's a movie. It's
Right.
not real. This is not real incest. But I want to kind of segue that into family because you did for 2 decades grow up as a single mother, and also being a scream queen genre actress. But is it okay to talk about the new?
Yes, of course. But especially, I feel like everyone's going to see me and be like, boy, she's getting fat, but it's fat with a baby, pregnant fat.
Okay. And you don't look fat. You look amazing. I'm very proud. I didn't know if I could throw that out there, but yes, Sadie is going to be bringing new life into this world, a beautiful baby boy. That I'm so happy for you. I'm so excited for you because now we talked about you grew up single mother. Now you do have a loving, supporting family. You have a son that is an artist and he supports you. You have a husband that is all the way behind you as well. And you're bringing new life. Gideon, correct?
Yeah.
You're bringing Gideon into this world, and he's not, you know, the vagina giveth, the vagina taketh away. You smother people, and now you're bringing people into the world with it. So I'm so happy for you, and I'm so excited for this next chapter in your life. And one last thing I want to talk about before we get into the reason why we are here, Sadie. You did recently open your own production company, See You Next Tuesday Films, with the goal of telling female-focused stories that don't involve sexed up supervillains or girls running through the woods, the main thing. So what has that been like for you, the See You Next Tuesday films? What has that been like? Because like I said, you've gotten awards named after you. You've been in franchises that people love to hate and hate to love. And now you've got your own production company where you're really focusing on the real strengths of women, which is such an amazing thing that's always been super prominent in the horror genre. Obviously, the final girl, they've been kicking ass since the 70s, showing men that they can beat their ass and come out on top. So what's it like now for See You Next Tuesday Productions, the film company, to come out of the gate? What's this been like for you?
Oh gosh, you know what? One, it's true. The horror industry is actually really good to women. So, my idea was saying, that it doesn't mean that women get to win in every film I do, or it doesn't mean, but I just wanted to tell female focused horror, which a lot of it is, which I love. You know what? I feel so freaking lucky about it. The idea, so I just, we just locked our cut on The Beast Inside, and now it's going in for color correction and sound mixing and composing. And when I had my Mario Reyes and Soho Johnny Pascal gave me, finance the film, I was like, wow, I got a chance, as an actor and as a writer, that a lot of times I do these films and I'm like, I just would like to be a little pickier. I would like, I would like to see, like, let me see what I can do. And, I do these indie films and I don't want to slag off anyone who's cast me or that I've worked with, but I'm like, you know what? I want to do like an arty, elevated horror film that's really freaking scary. And that was, the deal. And I worked with Jim Towns, who's my writer and director. And the idea that I got to have that kind of control was really terrifying, because I was like, if this movie sucks, I can only blame myself because I have final decision. But it was also like a super gift. And I'm saying this without an ego, but I am older. I've been doing it a long time. It was kind of time for me to like take responsibility for the content that I was making. And I hadn't really got to do that. I've written some scripts, but I didn't get to produce them. So they got made, but when they got made, I was like, oh, what a missed opportunity. And I sort of was like, you know what? One thing that drives me crazy about indie films is sometimes they aren't that scary. And I was like, I want to make a movie that's freaking scary. And you wanted to play a character that's different. So I feel really jazzed. Like it's, you're lucky, like you're doing a podcast that interests you. after a while, you're like, I really want to tell a story that's like something, a gift that I'm giving like fans who've kind of stood by me and sometimes put up with some content that I've released that maybe isn't that great. You didn't even
I
have to
definitely
believe
get
it,
it.
you know what I mean? Like,
Oh no, I get it. Like I totally understand where you're coming from, because without the people that watch our platforms, we're nothing. I mean, yeah, we enjoy doing it, but I love to get feedback from people on what I can do better, what I'm doing good. And it's really nice to get that feedback. And without people that watch your platform, what are you doing it for?
right. And as an actor, like if I'm on set, it's not my job to tell the director what to do, you know?
Mhm.
And so I do my very best, and then it's their project, it's their baby. I did my part in it. So I wanted to be able to kind of come to the table without stepping on anyone's toes and say, okay, what if we did this great thing? And I wanted to
Right.
really stay with the project. And you're not in control of the edit and things when you're not producing something. So with this, I got to do that. And I'm telling you, I love the film. I cannot wait to share it. I was saying the other day, I said, you know what, we should do some kind of promotion where like if people can get their money back if they don't find the movie scary enough. Like, I'm really excited to like have something that's actually like a fun movie. It's not slow, it moves really fast. Vernon Wells and Lorraine Landon are in it, and they're wonderful, along with a really nice cast. I'm excited, and I'm excited today. I had a meeting, and we were talking about the next film we're gonna do, and I'm really looking forward to having an opportunity of doing films where hopefully people will like them as much as I do. But
Well, and the good part about this, you have these films coming out. You guys don't have to wait and listen for promotion, because what you can do is follow Sadie right down here on social media. I have all her links in the description. And if you do that, you're going to get up to the minute updates on all these films she has coming out. And if you follow me, I'm going to give you updates as I always do on my This Week on Sledgehammer Horror. So I will be happy, Sadie, to promote anything that you're doing at any point. But um, we know now what you have going on in the future. You have a very busy future ahead of you, bringing new life into this world and the production company. And I'm so excited for all these amazing good things that are happening to you. And we know what you got going on right now. But here for a little bit, Sadie, I want to go back to the past, and I want to talk about what got you started in the horror genre. The first horror movie that you ever watched. And Sadie, your first horror movie was?
well, it's funny because I'm like, okay, it's Something Wicked This Way Comes is what I guessed, because I'm a child of the 80s. So we grew up
Mm-hmm.
on the TV shows like Tales from the Crypt and Tales from the Dark Side. But I do remember my mom, when you asked me, I don't think I've ever talked about this in any interview. I remember, like, because it wasn't R-rated, Something Wicked This Way Comes, which was kind of like a Disney-esque. I mean, Disney released it. It was
Yeah.
scary. It was very
No,
scary.
and it totally is. And I talked at the very beginning of this episode, if you guys have been taking notes, about how the forces of the world have made us put this episode on hold until today. And the reason why, obviously, this is not true for you guys now that are watching it because of the delay. But today, happy 39th birthday to Something Wicked This Way Comes. The movie was
Today,
released 39 years ago today. So this to me is so cool. And another cool thing about this movie, if you guys haven't seen it, while you're clicking on Sadie's social media links down here at the end of the episode, you can also click the YouTube link down here and watch it for free here on YouTube. So if you want to watch this movie that we're going to be talking about. So Sadie, do you remember how old you were the very first time you had seen this film?
gosh, I can't believe it's been out 39 years, and I didn't know it was the anniversary. That's awesome. Um,
Yeah.
I want to say that I was like 8.
See, and it's funny because at 8 years old, you hear a Disney movie, as a parent, and you're like, oh, that's fine, whatever. Something Wicked This Way Comes is very unorthodoxly Disney. Like, you watch this movie, it's The Watcher in the Woods. Like, this is a genuine scary film. Like, the antagonist in this movie does an amazing job. And do you remember which scene it was that affected you the most?
Well, I mean, I feel like everyone's seen like the merry-go-round scene. Like, I've never not thought about that scene. I mean, there's something like kind of old-fashioned anyway. When you're a kid, it's like a merry-go-round always has this sort of like, mysterious, and like the circus comes to town. So
Yeah.
that's normally where you get to ride a merry-go-round, or it's always like somewhere special. It's not a roller coaster, it's a merry-go-round. And there's something to me, I'm a love the merry-go-round. And the idea of spinning fast and out of control is scary unto itself. Going backwards, and then the idea that it's aging you. I mean, at a time when, like, kids are naturally, they're so scared about, like, they're so confused about growing older. Like, that whole process is just new to them. And also being aware that, like, other people around them will grow older. So I think that's like the perfect thing of like haunting, because I thought about it every time I saw a merry-go-round for probably the rest of my life.
And visually, it looks really good. Like, that scene looks really good when you're watching it. And the visuals on this film overall are really good. And it's not all scary, obviously. It is a release by Disney. Don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to downplay it. This is a scary film, especially if you're a child. But do you remember what your favorite scene was, Sadie, from the film?
Oh, I'm so bad. I should have watched it again. And it was on I was like, I should watch it again. To me, that was like the scene that always really stood out. That, and like, I thought the ending, the idea, I remember the lightning bolts. And to me, visually, the film was pretty overwhelming to me at that age. That any idea of like small towns, because I didn't come from a super small town or anything, or in like traveling fairs, traveling circuses, and the antagonist is, the wardrobe, his costume was scary and kind of off. It's almost like, what's it reminding me of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. Like, there's something that, God, it was the 80s. So if you think about it, it had a little bit of the feel of it to it as well.
Yeah.
Came out
And
a little bit later, but I feel like kids were really utilized in the 80s in horror films. It's not so much like that now, but like, there was some real traumatizing in 80s horror.
mhm. Well, another scene that gets me every time is when he's walking around the town trying to find the kids, and he's got them tattooed on his hands. Like, who are these boys? And he talks to the guy and to the dad, and he's like, "You're lying to me. Why are you lying to me? I know that their names are this and this." That scene always scared me, and I don't know why, but seeing like him magically having their faces on his hands always freaked me out so much.
And his movements,
Yes.
the way he walks, and the way he, like, there was something almost like feminine in a time where you
Mhm.
didn't get to see that, and that was scary.
I completely agree. Like, he was a great antagonist. And so another question I've been asking recently, horror movies getting a remake, a requel, a reboot, what have you, is something that's very popular in Hollywood right now. It's kind of the in thing. And when done right, can be done phenomenally. And I don't know if but whatever. Phenomenally. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. But would you like to see something wicked this way comes remade today?
Did they remake it? Wasn't there like a rumor on the street that they were going to do a reboot of it?
Hmm. See, I didn't hear that, but
I think it was planned, and then something, and then it fell through. Now forgive me, I want to speed Google it right now. I thought that they were going to do it, and then it fell through. I mean, one thing about the movie is it is a little slow. I don't know if
mhm,
that's like the I know I've seen it a couple times through the years. I think the premise is really good and the antagonist is really good. It might be interesting to not do a word for word remake, but that's one of the films that I would be down with it. I mean,
And don't like scene for scene remakes. Like if you're gonna remake something, I like Child's Play 2019, like Evil Dead 2013. Take the original idea, take the bones from that, and put your own skin over top of it. Make it your own. I've already seen the original. I don't need to watch it again.
right.
Make it your own, and it interests me.
Yeah,
Now,
I think it too. I'm like, if you're gonna do, I didn't personally, I didn't love the It remakes because I love the original so much that I was like, well, you guys didn't like completely, you didn't change it enough. And there was a sort of an intimacy lost with that. Yeah, I'm cool with remakes, but I do like if they give a little nod. I like to see the old characters sometimes. I don't think we would need to see the older characters for something Wicked This Way Comes. I
sure.
think we could do like an adult version of it. It doesn't have to be a kids movie. It was a little much. It was a little sophisticated. Disney did a couple of like in the 80s, they did some sophisticated films that weren't necessarily kids films. They were kind of went over kids' heads. So I think
Mhm.
we could really have some fun doing it again for adults.
I
I'd
agree
be
with you.
down with it, wouldn't you? Yeah.
And it's one of those things where if they do it, I'll for sure be there to watch it. I won't poo poo on it. Um, so Sadie, we talked about your first horror movie being Something Wicked This Way Comes and what that meant to you. But now here for a second, I want to throw a little bit of a curveball at you. My little buddy Ghostface here has a question for you. What's your favorite scary movie, Sadie? What is your
Oh,
favorite horror movie of all time?
God. It changes every few months. Yeah, like, I mean, I think The Shining to me, like The Shining's a movie that I've seen at like, these screenings in the summertime in LA. They do them at the cemetery and they do them at, the special art house theaters and stuff. The Shining's a movie that actually really sticks with me. Like the drive home, I'm creeped out. Like I could scare myself by talking about The Shining. There's something just inherently sinister about it. I think, the poor actress was so tortured during the movie, and that like you just don't get that kind of like, she was scary unto herself.
Mm-hmm.
There was something so like she had like this haunted quality. I think that's one of my favorites. Scream scares the shit out of me. The original Scream legitly bothers me. But I would say The Shining really, it's a lot. It's a lot. And
And The
Nightmare
Shining has one of the best monologues, when he's walking up the stairs and Wendy, darling, light of my life, I said, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to bash your brains in. Bash them right the fuck in. Like, that is such an amazing scene to me. And Jack Nicholson is so unhinged throughout the whole movie. And that movie means so much to me that there's certain things that don't leave the background of this episode, no matter what I'm doing. And the key to room 217 is up here all the time, no matter what, because that's the impact that movie has on me as well. So I completely understand the love for The Shining. And I think Scream revitalized the horror genre. Like, I think, in 1996, it turned the horror genre back on its head. It made horror cool again. So
it did.
that I can respect that.
It gave it something else like of its own. The thing that's crazy about The Shining is the movie breaks, forget about the book. The book's amazing. So, no one's going to deny that. But the movie does something that breaks every other rule. Jack Nicholson is already a freaking lunatic. Like we already start with him kind of being abusive and not so normally you have like the nice family and the dad's really nice and they drive and it's good. Like right away, which is an odd choice actually, because they don't normally do it that way. Right away you go, he's no good. Like, you're gonna go spend with this like crazy writer who's already abusive towards his wife. Like, there's some brilliant casting, and she's so already, like, her nerves are already shot. So when you put them in that situation, I mean, I always think, like, for me, I don't really enjoy movies where, like, where, the girl is running and she's running beautiful through the woods. Like, what she does is she's like foaming at the mouth, like sobbing, there's snot everywhere. Like, that's why, if not for her performance, I think the movie Jack would look a little silly because he's so over the top. I mean, I don't know. There's some scenes. The old lady in the bathtub. I must have a thing, like, I do have a thing about older people being scary, and I love older people, but in a horror film, I think there's something even worse about having an older person like turn on you, because it's representing death, but it's also representing like someone you're supposed to look up to,
and trust.
In trust, like,
Yeah.
so when you take that away, you're just like, ah!
Yeah. I older people and kids are the ones that freak me out the most. Little girl in a white dress, I'll kick the shit out of you. Get away from me. You scare the shit out of me. So Sadie, this has been amazing, getting to know you as a human being. And I got one last question for you before I let you go. We're going to go back to Something Wicked This Way Comes. And what we're going to do, Sadie, is we're going to rank this on a skull count. Now, we're not ranking this on production or quality direction. We're not going to be critics here. What we're going to do is rank Something Wicked This Way Comes on a skull count, 0 skulls being not effective, 5 being extremely effective. You can use half and quarter skulls anywhere in the middle. And what we're doing is ranking this movie strictly on how much it affected you on first viewing. So what would you say your ranking of Something Wicked This Way Comes would have been on first viewing?
I was 8 years old. I mean, like, I probably didn't sleep for like a week afterwards. I had really bad dreams. So for my 8-year-old self says like 5 skulls. My adult self looking back gives it like a solid 3. There's some real scary imagery in there that doesn't feel quite right, that it's so sophisticated in a kid's movie. That's the problem with it. What is it doing in this movie? They were grooming. They're grooming us for horror, a lifetime of horror. So
that's the one type of grooming I'm totally fine with. So I do want to remind you guys, because we are at the end of the third act. The credits are about to roll and the curtain's about to drop. But all of Sadie's social media links are down here in the description, and you're not going to want to miss the things that she has coming up here in the near future. So make sure you're following her on social media so you can stay up to date on everything that she's up to. Sadie, please don't go anywhere. I got a couple more questions for you. Everybody else, as always, keep talking horror, stay what you are, and we'll see you guys soon.